Question 31. Azure Virtual Machines VM are classified as which of the following offerings? Option A. Software as a Service SaaS. Option B. Platform as a Service PaaS. Option C. Database as a Service DaaS. Option D. Infrastructure as a Service IaaS. And the correct answer is option D. Infrastructure as a Service IaaS. Explanation. According to the official Azure website, Azure VMS are classified as IaaS since you are renting out physical hardware. Refer to this image. Next question. Which of the following can be used to manage your Azure resources from an iPhone? Option A. Azure Mobile App. Option B. Azure CLI. Option C. Windows PowerShell. Option D. Azure Portal. Option E. Azure Cloud Shell. And the correct answer is option A. Azure Mobile App. And option D. Azure Portal. And option E. Azure Cloud Shell. Explanation. The Azure Portal is the web-based portal for managing Azure. Being web-based, you can use the Azure Portal on an iPhone. Azure Cloud Shell is a web-based command line for managing Azure. You access the Azure Cloud Shell from the Azure Portal. Being web-based, you can use the Azure Cloud Shell on an iPhone. Incorrect answers. Option A. Azure CLI can be installed on Mac OS but it cannot be installed on an iPhone. Option D. Windows PowerShell can be installed on Mac OS but it cannot be installed on an iPhone. Next question. Which of the following Azure storage solutions meets all the following requirements? Number 1. The ability to handle unstructured data, document, graph, key value. Number 2. Automatically index all data regardless of the data model. Number 3. Multi-region writes and data distribution to any Azure region. Option A. Azure Files. Option B. Azure SQL databases. Option C. Azure Database for MariaDB. Option D. Azure Cosmos DB. Option E. Azure SQL Edge. Option F. Azure Cache for Redis. And the correct answer is option D. Azure Cosmos DB. Explanation. From the official documentation, today's applications are required to be highly responsive and always online. To achieve low latency and high availability, instances of these applications need to be deployed in data centers that are close to their users. Applications need to respond in real time to large changes in users at peak hours, store ever-increasing volumes of data, and make this data available to users in milliseconds. Azure Cosmos DB is Microsoft's globally distributed, multi-model database service. With a click of a button, Cosmos DB enables you to elastically and independently scale throughput and storage across any number of Azure regions worldwide. You can elastically scale throughput and storage and take advantage of fast, single-digit millisecond data access using your favorite API including SQL, MongoDB, Cassandra, Tables, or Gremlin. Cosmos DB provides comprehensive service level agreements SLAs for throughput, latency, availability, and consistency guarantees, something no other database service offers. Azure Cosmos DB is a great way to store unstructured and JSON data. Combined with Azure Functions, Cosmos DB makes storing data quick and easy, with much less code than required for storing data in a relational database. Next question. Permissions are by default inherited by all resources residing in a resource group. Option A. No. Option B. Yes. And the correct answer is option B. Yes. Explanation. From the official docs, a resource group can be used to scope access control for administrative actions. By default, permissions set at the resource level are inherited by the resources in the resource group. Next question. Inter-region transfer of data is always free of cost. Option A, yes. Option B, no. And the correct answer is option B, no. Explanation. It is important to note that data inbound ingress is free, but data outbound egress is not free. Look at the following details from the official documentation. Next question. A hacker group recently attacked your video streaming website and all your resources were exhausted and unavailable to your users. What can you do to prevent this type of attack in the future? Option A. Use a network security group. Option B. Use Azure DDoS protection. Option C. Use an Azure firewall. Option D. Use Azure virtual networks. And the correct answer is option B. Use Azure DDoS protection. Explanation. Azure has two DDoS service offerings that provide protection from network attacks, Layer 3 and Layer 4. DDoS Protection Basics and DDoS Protection Standard. DDoS Protection Basic. Basic protection is integrated into Azure by default at no additional cost. The scale and capacity of the globally deployed Azure network provides defense against common network layer attacks through always-on traffic monitoring and real-time mitigation. DDoS Protection Basic requires no user configuration or application changes. DDoS Protection Basic helps protect all Azure services, including PaaS services like Azure DNS. Basic DDoS protection in Azure consists of both software and hardware components. A software control plane decides when, where, and what type of traffic should be steered through hardware appliances that analyze and remove attack traffic. The control plane makes the decision based on an infrastructure-wide DDoS protection policy. This policy is statically set and universally applied to all Azure customers. For example, the DDoS protection policy specifies at what traffic volume the protection should be triggered. That is, the tenant's traffic should be routed through scrubbing appliances. The policy then specifies how the scrubbing appliances should mitigate the attack. The Azure DDoS Protection Basic service is targeted at protection of the infrastructure and protection of the Azure platform. It mitigates traffic when it exceeds a rate that is so significant that it might affect multiple customers in a multi-tenant environment. It doesn't provide altering or per customer customized policy. DDoS Protection Standard protection provides enhanced DDoS mitigation features. It's automatically tuned to help protect your specific Azure resources in a virtual network. Protection is simple to enable on any new or existing virtual network, and it requires no application or resources changes. It has several advantages over the basic service, including logging, alerting, and telemetry. The following sections outline the key features of the Azure DDoS Protection Standard service. Next question. You are the senior architect of XYZ organization and the senior management has requested to migrate all on-prem resources to the cloud. The requirement is that only platform as a service solutions must be used in Azure. Would this meet the goal? Option A, no. Option B, yes. And the correct answer is option B, yes. Explanation. Please always remember, Azure App Service and Azure SQL databases are both PaaS services. Azure App Service allows us to quickly build, deploy, and scale web apps created with popular frameworks such as .NET Core, Node.js, Java, PHP, Ruby, or Python in containers or running on any operating system. It offers rigorous, enterprise-grade performance, security, and compliance requirements by using the fully managed platform for your operational and monitoring tasks. Azure SQL Database. Microsoft Azure SQL Database is a managed cloud database provided as a part of Microsoft Azure. A cloud database is a database that runs on a cloud computing platform, and access to it is provided as a service. Managed database services take care of scalability, backup, and high availability of the database. Next question. Resources don't inherit the tax you apply to a resource group or a subscription. Option A, true. Option B, false. And the correct answer is option A, true. Explanation. From the official docs, yes, this is true. Resources don't inherit the tax you apply to a resource group or a subscription. To apply tax from a subscription or resource group to the resources, see Azure Policies tags. Next question. Which of the following displays personalized recommendations for all your subscriptions? And you can use filters to select recommendations for specific subscriptions, resource groups, or services. Option A, Azure Arc. Option B, Azure Service Health. Option C, Azure Monitor. Option D, Azure Advisor. And the correct answer is option D, Azure Advisor. Explanation. From the official Azure documentation, Azure Advisor evaluates your Azure resources and makes recommendations to help improve reliability, security, and performance, achieve operational excellence, and reduce cost. Advisor is designed to help you save time on cloud optimization. The recommendation service includes suggested actions you can take right away, postpone, or dismiss. The recommendations are available via the Azure portal and the API, and you can set up notifications to alert you to new recommendations. When you are in the Azure portal, the Advisor dashboard displays personalized recommendations for all your subscriptions, and you can use filters to select recommendations for specific subscriptions, resource groups, or services. Next question. You plan to create a Netflix-like streaming service and would like to serve video content to users worldwide. Which of the following would help you deliver the best possible service with least latency? Option A, an Azure Virtual Network NAT. Option B, a Content Delivery Network CDN. Option C, an Azure Express Route Circuit. Option D, an Azure Load Balancer. And the correct answer is option B, a Content Delivery Network CDN. Explanation. The question states that users are located worldwide and need the least possible latency. The video playback experience would be improved if they can download the video from servers in the same region as the users. We can achieve this by using a Content Delivery Network. A Content Delivery Network CDN is a distributed network of servers that can efficiently deliver web content to users. CDNs store cached content on edge servers in point of presence POP locations that are close to end users to minimize latency. Azure Content Delivery Network CDN offers developers a global solution for rapidly delivering high bandwidth content to users by caching their content at strategically placed physical nodes across the world. Azure CDN can also accelerate dynamic content, which cannot be cached by leveraging various network optimization using CDN POPs. For example, route optimization to bypass Border Gateway Protocol (BGP). The benefits of using Azure CDN to deliver website assets include: Number 1. Better performance and improved user experience for end users, especially when using applications in which multiple round trips are required to load content. Number 2. Large scaling to better handle instantaneous high loads, such as the start of a product launch event. Number 3. Distribution of user requests and serving of content directly from edge servers so that less traffic is sent to the origin server. Next question. One of the teams in your company is looking for a solution for collecting, analyzing, and potentially taking action based on the metric and logging data from your entire Azure and on-premises environment. Which of the following would you recommend? Option A, Azure Insights. Option B, Azure Logs. Option C, Azure Monitor. Option D, Azure Advisor. And the correct answer is option C, Azure Monitor. Explanation. From the official Azure documentation, Azure Monitor is a platform for collecting, analyzing, visualizing, and potentially taking action based on the metric and logging data from your entire Azure and on-premises environment. The following diagram illustrates just how comprehensive Azure Monitor is. On the left is a list of the sources of logging and metric data that can be collected at every layer in your application architecture, from application to operating system and network. Next, in the center, you can see how the logging and metric data is stored in central repositories. Next, on the right, the data is used in a number of ways. You can view real-time and historical performance across each layer of your architecture, or aggregated and detailed information. The data is displayed at different levels for different audiences. You can view high-level reports on the Azure Monitor dashboard or create custom views by using Power BI and Custo queries. Additionally, you can use the data to help you react to critical events in real time through alerts delivered to teams via SMS, email, and so on. Or you can use thresholds to trigger auto-scaling functionality to scale up or down to meet the demand. Next question. Which of the following services allows you to send events generated from Azure Resources to applications? Option A, Azure Cognitive Services. Option B, Azure Event Grid. Option C, Azure Event Hub. Option D, Azure App Service. And the correct answer is option B, Azure Event Grid. Explanation. A summary from the official Azure documentation. Next question. Data in an Azure storage account is replicated 3 times in the primary region. Option A, yes. Option B, no. And the correct answer is option A, yes. Explanation. Azure storage always stores multiple copies of your data so that it is protected from planned and unplanned events, including transient hardware failures, network or power outages, and massive natural disasters. Redundancy ensures that your storage account meets the Service Level Agreement (SLA) for Azure storage even in the face of failures. Next question. Which of the following statements is accurate? If you want to migrate a website that is hosted on-prem at the moment to Azure, one of the clear benefits is the pay-as-you-go pricing that comes with Azure. Option A. This is not true. We first need to pay to transfer all the website data to Azure. Option B. This is not true. You need a VPN to complete the migration, which will cost a lot. Option C. The given statement is correct. Option D. This is not true. A website hosted on Azure will be costlier as it's charged by the second. And the correct answer is option C. The given statement is correct. Explanation. When planning to migrate a website to Azure, the pay-as-you-go pricing model is a big advantage. You can even use Azure Websites to accomplish this. Azure Websites is offered in 4 tiers: free, shared preview, basic, and standard. Website shared preview. The price for the shared tier during preview is $0.013 per hour per website instance. This price reflects a 33% preview discount. Websites basic and standard. The basic and standard tiers offer multiple instance sizes as well as scaling to meet changing capacity needs, starting from $56 for a basic single small instance and $75 for a standard single small instance. For more details on features per price tier, click here. Incorrect answers. You do not need a VPN for Azure Websites. You do not pay to transfer data into Azure Websites. You are not charged by the second. Next question. If you assign permissions to a resource group, all the resources inside it inherit these permissions. Option A, no. Option B, yes. And the correct answer is option B, yes. Explanation. Yes, it is true that if you assign certain permissions to a resource group, then all the resources inside it inherit those permissions. See below. Very important to understand and remember these diagrams. A resource group is a container that holds related resources for an Azure solution. The resource group can include all the resources for the solution, or only those resources that you want to manage as a group. You decide how you want to allocate resources to resource groups based on what makes the most sense for your organization. Generally, we add resources that share the same life cycle to the same resource group. So you can easily deploy, update, and delete them as a group. Thank you for watching this video. Buy our AZ 900 premium questions with 50% off. Check link in the description.